Okay, so guys, as I said, we've got Graham Rowntree here, head coach of Munster Rugby, and we have got Matt Sherratt, head coach of Cardiff. Best way to do this, guys, kind of usual procedure. We'll do 2 questions per journalist, and then we'll move across. So if we can use the raise hand function, and then if there's time then permitting at the end, we'll go back around and give everyone any extra questions that might want to add in and whatnot. So if you can start raising your hands now, and as you come onto the call, can you let us know who you're directing the question to, your name, and who your what publication you're with. Okay, thanks, guys. Don't be shy. Whoever wants to go first, don't worry. I'll start picking someone now, lads. Someone doesn't want to jump in there first. Does anyone want to go in first? Here we go. We've got Jan. Jan, if you want to go in there first and let us know who your question is directed at. Thank you.
Sorry, apologies. Thank you. My question is to Graham Rowntree. I mean, we're into our 4th season of. Sorry, apologies. Jan de Koning Rugby 365. We into the 4th season of the URC, and we've had a South African team in the final every year. Is this a reflection on the general trend? Is there a way, or is there something specific that makes it so difficult to beat them?
Good question. I think they've certainly improved the competition, the standard of the rugby. And they're all playing rugby. Look at the Bulls in particular have advanced their game, playing a lot more rugby than just a power game of rugby. I think they've really upped the standard. Certainly we measure ourselves very strongly against the South African teams. And there's a jeopardy involved in going to South Africa. You've got to pick 30 guys, pick the right 30 guys to go there for 2 games. And inevitably, if that's at altitude as well, there's a different jeopardy there that the guys aren't used to. I firmly believe to advance in the competition, what you do in South Africa, what points you can gain there is vital.
You talked about the jeopardy of traveling to South Africa and all that. There's also the thing that there's so many different brands or approaches to the game. Is that a big advantage for the game in general, that you have so much variety in the game? Or is that a down thing? Is that a problem for the game?
No, I think it's only good for the game. Look at the way we played the Bulls and the Lions back to back. You've got the power game of the Bulls, and obviously they're advanced their attack as well. And against the Lions a week later, you couldn't take your eye off them at all. They test you on the edge of the field, the speed and the pace of which the Lions are playing now. I think it's only advanced the quality of the league in general, John.
Thank you very much. I'll jump in later if there's more time.
Yep.
Perfect, guys. Anyone else wants to raise your hand if you want to come up next? I'm seeing a hand up. I think I saw a hand there somewhere. Yeah, Rory, yeah. Fire away there, Rory, whenever you're ready.
How's it going? Hi, Graham. How's it going?
Hey, Rory.
How's pre-season gone, and how ready do you feel the team are? About, what are you, 10, 11 days out from the kickoff?
We had a very good pre-season, very good 6-week block. And we've had a couple of good tests. We played Bath away. Should have won the game. Try disallowed in the last minute. Had some good learnings there. As I said earlier, I don't think you were on the call. They took a quick throw in from a 50-22 quarter snapping. I'd sooner find out things like that in a warm-up game. And we got a real good punch in the nose by Gloucester Friday night, where we were trying a few things, a few players out of position, particularly Shane Daly playing 13. And we got caught out by some very good set-piece attack. Notwithstanding that, we got a punch in the nose because we weren't quite right for the game, contact-wise. And after sulking on it for 3 days, I'm glad it happened, Rory. I'm glad it happened. It's given us a kick up the backside. If I compare our URC opponents in URC 1, Connaught, if I compare our results to them, so they've beaten the Premiership semi-finalists in Sale Sharks, and they've gone up and beat the URC champions, Glasgow away at the weekend, so they're flying high. And we've got work to do, but I don't mind that, if I'm honest with you. That will keep us grounded. That's a long answer to your question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We like long answers. The way last season ended, how much have you addressed that with the players? How much will you address that with the players? Is it parked? Will you use it as fuel? And what have you learned from it, I guess?
Both. It's certainly parked. That was a disappointing end to it. And that's not taking anything away from the Glasgow performance on the night. Crikey, they were a handful everywhere around across the field. In every department, they were a handful. But we dealt with that very quickly. We lost one game after a 10-game run. You finish top of the log. We lost one game by 7 points. It can happen. Anything can happen on the night. But we took some learnings from it, bank that, then very much look forward.
Thanks, Rob.
Cheers, Rory.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rory. Reese, I see your hand up there next. Want to fire away?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Reese William. I do comms for S4C, BBC, and Premier Sports. I've got a question for both coaches, really, but I'll start with Matt. We talked about pre-season there. How far away are you from knowing you're starting 15 or you're 23?
Yeah, we're not far away. We've had a lot of new players join us this season, so I think we've had 14 new starters and obviously 2 pre-season games with, I think, 11 players coming back from international rugby 3 weeks ago. So it's been a very different pre-season, obviously a lot shorter than last year. Lots of new faces vying for position. So very competitive around the 9 position now, very competitive around 10 with Callum Sheedy coming in and Ala Davis. So probably the next week will determine who starts against Zebra in those positions. So I would say we're 70% there and 30% vying for some spaces at the moment.
On the back of that, Matt, you've got 2 pre-season games. So what you're saying in essence is the team that might start your opening clash might not have played together before?
Our reality is it probably won't have played together in its entirety. It's unfortunately with a short pre-season with lots of comings and goings, it's not as simple as that. There's still a couple of boys away injured. Ellis Bevan, Ben Thomas for 2. The 2 props made their first starts at the weekend. So listen, we got another 2 weeks to prepare for Zebra. So hopefully we'll get our strongest team out. We got a session against the Ospreys this Friday, not a game, but just a post session, and try and get some cohesion by next Friday.
Great. If I can throw that question to Graham as well, please.
Yeah. Obviously, we can't touch our internationals till round 3 for most of them. So I think I pretty much know my starting 15, certainly match 23. Yeah.
And how important, Graham, is said you can do mistakes, you can have mistakes. It's a place to have slip-ups, a couple of bumps on your journey. When the league starts, you can't really afford to have them anymore in the nature of the URC.
No, it's to get your battle hardened, isn't it, for the start of the year? We certainly found that out. We got caught out with a few technical aspects, but just your contacts. You can't do a lot of full-on, Reese, in training. You can't do a lot of full-on training because you just lose bodies. But your training's got to be replicating match demands. But there's nothing quite like a big unit running down your channel. You've got to make a decision, And we got caught out on that Friday night. But there were some very simple pictures I showed the lads this morning, and I'm certain that won't happen again. Great. So it's very important. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much, both.
Brilliant. Thanks. Philip, bending your hand up there next, please. Want to fire away? Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Graham. Philip from Flow Rugby and Rugby Pass here. You spoke about the lessons you learned towards the end of the season. What would you mind sharing a few of those lessons that you took? Obviously, great run, and then obviously the disappointment of the semi-final.
What do you want? The whole change to the playbook, do you, Philip?
Well, ideally, but no, it's just a couple of things that you think might be
anything can happen. Anything can happen on the night. No, I'm not going to go into publicly tell you the lessons. It's just inappropriate. But yeah, around the squad and in big moments, in big games, you've got to take your opportunities. You've got to take your opportunities, and we didn't on the night against a very tough Glasgow team. But the lads know it as well. But We've had some reflecting. There's not a lot wrong with what we've achieved and what we're doing. We just got to be better in certain areas of the game and better in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, no problem. And then thanks, Graham. And then also the new recruits, Billy Burns in particular. How have you found them settling into the squad?
Billy's been outstanding. No, it's a crossroads for him. I remember speaking to him earlier in the year when the possibility first reared its head. He's at a crossroads in his career, 29, coming to a new province, and he wants to advance. He's not giving up on his island dreams, certainly. And we signed him to challenge Jack Crowley, not just to fill a slot that was vacant. And he immediately, from day one, has been pulling lads around him. He's a great communicator. He's moved well. He's moved quickly. I've been really delighted with him. Obviously, the Connaught lads, Farrell and Dermot Kilgallen, Tom Farrell, Dermot Kilgallen, they've been as good. They've been as good. So far, so good. And obviously, Takir Abrahams has had visa issues. He's only been on deck for a couple of weeks, but he's rapid. He's a real jack in the box, as we saw Friday night. One of the few highlights from Friday night was just how dangerous Abrahams is going to be.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Graham. Good luck.
Cheers, Phil.
Brilliant. Thanks. You want to jump in there, Murray?
Yeah. Hi, Graham. How are you going? As you alluded to at the very start, like the competition has got tougher, and you throw the French clubs into that in Europe, even tougher again. What's a good season for Munster in your mind if you're setting a goal?
Dear mate, you sound like one of my board members. We'll win the next game, will we? We're still advancing. We're not still as good as we can be consistently. This group of players changed the group of coaches a couple of years ago, changed how we're playing the game. We're not there yet. It's my job to keep pushing that, to keep getting us better. I'm not going to speculate as to what a good season looks for us. I'd like to go a week further than last season. That would be a good start. But we'll take it as a boring former English prop would say. We'll take it week by week. There you go.
I thought you might say that.
That's some headline for you, that, Murray. That's some brilliant headline for you.
Hold the back page. Just on one of the younger guys, Sean Adogbo, like apart from looking bigger than everyone on the pitch when he came on, what's he done to impress you? Looks like another chip off the block with Edwin as well. Hopefully coming back soon.
Athleticism, Murray. Like he's come back bigger. I think everyone had a double take of him. He's certainly come back bigger. That's testament to the work he's been doing in the gym with our staff here. He just gives us something different. Power, pace, athleticism, detail. Little detail around his handling, getting little tip passes, sweet passes. He'll get better at that. He's got a great line-out jump shape and easy to coach, as his brother Edwin is. Hopefully we'll get the two of them on the field soon enough. Edwin, we're not expecting back till November at this stage, but I'm delighted with Sean. He's a bolt from the blue, isn't he? He's just come from nowhere, played a bit of Ireland 20s the last 6 months. But another standout for us Friday night, Murray, was his performance.
Spot on. Thank you. Go out.
Cheers.
Brilliant. Cheers. Thanks. Griff, you want to jump in there next?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Great. Quick question for Matt. Matt, you said about pre-season this year being different. How different was it to last year's pre-season and better when you had 8 or 9 players play around, and how much, you've had 14 new players. How much better has this pre-season been?
Obviously, just much better in terms of our preparation, because you can do all the training you want, but until you go 15v15, you don't really get that cohesion. And I think, as Graham said earlier, as well, as even when you do 15-on-15 in training, it's not until you've got a couple of pre-season games under your belt so you really see like the benefit of the new players coming in. So those 2 pre-season games for us really was just getting a little bit of contact. Getting some cohesion between the new recruits, especially around halfback and new second row. In general, a much better pre-season in terms of the numbers we had available for training.
And just in terms of when it becomes competitive, you'll tell me how many losing bonus points you got last year. How do you turn those into narrow wins to get yourself up that table?
I don't know. I was hoping you'd tell me that. Listen, I know it's a boring answer, but I think I'm not going to overthink that. It's we had some good performances last year, so we're losing bonus point away at Munster, at Glasgow, at Ulster. I see those as points gained, and that's not being negative. So it's my second year, so it's really important as well that I don't change my philosophy this year. So we talked a lot about staying in the fight last year and playing a good brand of rugby, and if we go away from that, I think we get lost. So we'll continue with trying to play the way we play. We'll continue with trying to stay in the fight every week, and then hopefully with some of the new recruits we've brought in, it's pretty obvious to see we've tried to bring some experienced lads in to help some of the youngsters. And there wasn't one thing you can put your finger on over pre-season and say, if this gets better, we'll get wins. It's probably just improving a lot to little bits, really. So I'm hoping with in short, for the experienced boys to come alongside the new boys. We've tried to improve just around our basics of the game. That may turn some of the tight losses into wins. But as long as we keep the first two things I talked about, we still got to keep our identity intact. That's more important than anything else.
Thank you. Good luck.
Cheers.
Super. Thanks. Stefan Thomas, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, Stefan Thomas from Wales Online here. Just a couple for Matt, if that's okay. Hi, Matt. Obviously, you mentioned new recruits. Obviously, goes without saying, Callum Sheedy is going to be really important as a number 10. What are you expecting from him this season? How do you think he can improve the team?
Well, first of all, Tinas Tabia finished the season really well. So I'm not going to forget Tinas. He got Players Player of the Year, Supporters Player of the Year. He was outstanding for us. So firstly, it's a tussle to get the shirt. I think Callum showed when he came on Friday what he brings is some know-how and a little bit of coolness. So it wasn't great conditions on Friday night. He came on and gave an assured performance, if you like. I think his nature rubs off on players around him. So he's played, I think, 140 odd games for Bristol. And listen, we're looking for him to come in and be himself. When he's attack minded, he's a really good link player. But also, as I alluded to before, is maybe in the moments in games where there's like high pressure decisions or when it's a 1 point game, is he gives us a little bit of assuredness. And like the signs so far, he's done that, but it is going to take a little bit of time for him to get up to speed with our systems as well.
Yeah, obviously all four Welsh teams are going to have to rely heavily on younger players because of the financial climate. Are there any younger players that perhaps your fans haven't heard of yet, haven't broken through yet, that you're really excited by, that could sort of, by the end of the season, become names that people are talking about?
If I'm honest, a lot of them were blooded last year, so like I'm interested and excited to see some of those boys in their second season. So likes of Mason Grady, Cam Winnett, Evan Lloyd, who've had some exposure to the Welsh national team. It's about them going again, if you like, because sometimes I feel your first season, it's a bit of a free hit. Now they're not unknown anymore. So it's about them kind of building on last season, but not overthinking it as well. And we've got probably a couple of lads who didn't get as much game time as they could have last year. And Jacob Beetham, if he can stay fit, I think he can make an impact on the league. And we've just signed a lad from Bath called Stefan Emmanuel, who he's only 18, so we might not see much of him this season. But at first glimpse, he could be a real, very good Cardiff player in the future.
Great, thanks, Matt.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Stefan. Michael, if you want to jump in there when you're ready.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, Graham. How are you?
Hi, Michael.
Good. Apologies if I missed it at the start, but just on injuries, I know you said Ed went back in November. Jean Klein, Dave Kilcoyne, expected to see them soon?
Imminently.
Yeah. Available for the first round of URC?
To be confirmed.
TBC, hopeful.
Yeah, moving well, tracking well towards that, put it that way.
Liam Coombs?
Concussion protocol. Himself and Jack Taylor will follow the concussion protocols on Friday night.
Very good. And again, apologies if I missed this at the start, but at the end of last season, you said the defeat to Glasgow was going to sting for a while. Is it something that you get out of your system over the summer? Is it something that you get over after a portion of the season, or do you think you can use it to fuel you the whole way through the season to take the next step?
He always wanting to get better, Michael, and we have to be better. No, we covered that off a couple of days after the event. I'm not doing a huge post-mortem on it. We'll take our learnings and keep driving forward. We still just got to get better in everything we do. Get better in everything we do. Blooding young men, bringing young men through as soon as we can. That's all I'm driving. I've got an excellent coaching team, and I trust them. Just got to keep driving it.
And when you say you closed it off, was it having a session or having a sit down with the lads and did you review the match, or how do you think you closed that off?
We went to the pub.
Yeah.
It wasn't a deep dive, but we didn't drill that too down into it. Yeah, of course, we looked at aspects of the game, and we covered off the season, and we went and had a social. Yeah, it was hugely disappointing. But again, I don't want to take anything away from Glasgow on the night. I look back, they were just tough. They were a tough team to play against, and they beat us by 7 points. We missed some opportunities. The big thing is you cannot miss opportunities in knockout rugby. You've got to take opportunities when they present. And lost away in that regard. We lost the game by 7 points.
Yeah, very good. Just the last one on that. Do you think there was any element of complacency, just the way that it was working out, a home semi-final against a team that you would regularly beat, not all the time, but was there any element that crept in that we will win this if we play the par?
Not that I sniffed out. No, I didn't. I just haven't got that in my group. We're not that group of players. We failed to take some chances in some key areas of the game, particularly in the first half, and we never got back in. And we got a bit tight with our kick chase. They got us on the edge of the field, and they were tenacious all night around the breakdown. They're a tough team to play against,
as evidenced by the next match as well. Thanks very much for your time, Graham.
As evidenced by their performance in the final. Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Simon Lewis, want to jump in there when you're ready?
Thanks, Jason. Hi, Graham. How are you?
Stranger.
Yeah, you mentioned Sean Adogbo there, and there seems to be a player like Sean or someone as exciting as Sean coming through now on a regular basis. How confident are you that you've established a pathway now that's going to be sustainable and keep finding this type of player?
I think that's a point of difference of ours, if I'm honest with you, Simon. The pathway and the connection that we have right down the club, right down to the 16s and the 15-year-olds in the pathway, what's coming through, and the coaching that we try and give them. And certainly the way we're set up, those guys are training with us from as soon as we can. As soon as when they're age, it's appropriate for them to train with us. So I'd like to think we find the next Sean Adogbo, Jean Kareem O'Leary example. I'd like to think we find him very quickly, and that's been evidenced by the guys coming through. So I'm very confident in the pathway and the production line.
And clearly you're not shy about giving them their opportunities. Are we likely to see? I think that the figure that was mentioned was 80 academy appearances in the senior team last season.
88.
Is that likely to continue or increase?
I certainly, on my watch, yes. We're a big province, right? We've got to get guys through as soon as we can and get them under the coaches, the senior coaches, under their noses as quick as we can. And it's getting a training model where you can bring them in, whether exposed to pressures, and they're training along the likes of Peter O'Mahony, etc. It's just got to happen. We have to keep that production line coming through. It's very well head up by Ian Costello, head of rugby operations. The net is cast wide to make sure we're looking at the right lads. So I'm confident how it's working at the moment.
Thanks, Graham.
Cheers, Simon.
Jan, if you want to jump back in there again?
Thank you very much. Sorry, yeah, at least you can see that I'm a human being. My question is just for Graham, it's just for clarity. You said Rowntree is tracking for the opening round next week. Just for clarity, what was the exact current injury? There was talk about his eye, and then there was about surgery. Can you just give us some clarity around that?
That's an eye injury. He has had a procedure, and he's still got some return to contact to tick off. He's still got to complete a full week's training before he returns for us. But that looks like it'll all be on schedule for URC 1. I'm not going to go any more into his procedure or his injury than that, if I'm honest with you, John.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no, I just wanted to know if it was an eye or a leg or that's.
No, it was an eye injury. An eye injury.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Graham. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Cheers. Thanks, Rory. If you want to pop again there again, we ready?
Thanks, Jason. Graham, you obviously had a big change of leadership early on last season when Pete stepped down the captaincy, and Dermot had a spell there, and Tig did the running for the rest of it. Is it an issue that you've identified in pre-season to try and put together kind of to enhance your leadership group to make sure that it doesn't fall on one figure or like that? Was it an issue that you felt was difficult last season at all?
I would say it was difficult. Most clubs have a leadership group, got 8 guys in mind, and I'd like to think a majority of them I can call upon to captain the team with the support of each other. So we have a strong leadership group. I think Ty did a very good job. And, this will be the first time a Munster head coach has chosen a captain for 10 years. I think, is that 10 years? Is that right? 10 years. There's no playbook here. I wasn't going to be rushed. And I wanted to see a few other guys, a few other candidates, and see how they performed. Some of them were injured for big pockets of last season, so I've had to take my time. And, I'm close to announcing who that will be, and that will be announced the week of the first URC game. I've took my time on purpose, but in short, I have a very healthy leadership group, and they'll help the candidate when that's named.
There was obviously a saga around Peter's contract. There was a lot of innuendo about his relationship with you during last season. Can you maybe just speak to his role within your squad this season going into it? I think he's hinted it might be his final campaign, but his importance to the group, you've already touched on it yourself. What kind of role will he play for you this season?
He's a warrior, Pete. A warrior. Leads with his actions, Rory. Leads with his action, but is a good talker, speaks very well to the group, very good at adjusting the tone of training and just the environment up or down as he sees it. And he's good with the youngsters, and he's learned that warmth as he's become older as a player, that warmth with younger players. I've seen a lot of guys in his position who get frustrated with younger players because when they don't get it as quickly as they did. But he's developed that side to him. He's going to be huge for us this season. I'm delighted we got it over the line in the end. And the early evidence is he is going to be good for us.
Thanks, Greg.
Cheers.
Cheers, thanks, Rory. Anyone else want to jump in there, guys? I have no hands up at the moment. Someone wants to come back in. If you've already asked a question, fire away.
I might jump in if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
Similar topic, Graham. Like, obviously, Simon, Keith, Andrew, guys that have left the squad in the last while. Have you seen, or what have you seen to kind of step into that void? Have new personalities emerged, or is it a very different squad now?
No, it's not that different. There's some big characters there, some big shoes to fill. You took Zebo in there as well. There's a huge energy around the building. But no, this is what happens. It's evolution in the club, isn't it? And I'm looking at a list of our leaders now on the wall in my office there, and I've got some young bucks in there who are very much respected by the senior players for their actions, Murray, for how they play the game, the likes of an Alex Kendlin or a Craig Casey. Craig Casey's everything good about a rugby player, and what a rugby player should be in terms of his diligence and his professionalism. But you've got a strong enough group there. It just evolves and renews itself naturally.
Thank you.
Cheers, thanks. Stephanie, you can jump back in there again, please.
Yeah, just a couple of extra questions for Matt, if that's okay. Matt, you mentioned in your previous answer that, you mentioned Jacob Beetham as somebody who, you're still excited by. Obviously, he's had a lot of injuries, so he probably hasn't, he probably would have been further in his development if those hadn't happened. But how How excited are you by him this season?
Yeah, very excited. He's got a lot of attributes that you can't coach. He's got good size. He's got good power. He's good handler. He can kick a ball. It's just about him getting a run of games, getting on the field, and putting that together. Really, that will be his test. Is obviously in training, and he shows flashes when he comes on. But it's hopefully for Jakey is getting him on the field for 4 or 5 games on the bounce and giving him some experience at URC level.
Yeah, Warren Gatland has previously said that he sees him as a 10 or a 12. Well, you get asked this question all the time about nearly all your players, but where's his best position in your opinion? Where do you sort of see him?
I think he could play 12 or 13. If I'm honest, I don't see him as a 10, Jacob. I think at the moment Jacob needs to get on the field and just play rather than run the game. I think that would be a big ask for a young lad. So I think he can play either position centres, or obviously he's come through playing 15. And my opinion on this is I think it's hard enough when you make that step up when you're playing in the position that you're used to, rather than having to focus as a 10 of organising everyone else. I'd like Jakey to play for us and focus on playing well himself before worrying about the team. So yeah, he'll play for us in one of the outside positions when he plays.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Stefan. Now we have a few late joiners there, lads. So just a reminder, if you want to ask a question, just raise your hand and we'll get to you. Daniel, you're next. Do you want to fire away there?
Yeah, perfect. Cheers, Jason. Hi, guys. I'm Daniel from the Knock-On Effect. I have a similar enough question just for Graham. Graham, we've seen Shane Daly the other night playing at 13, and obviously Gavin Coombs at times has stepped into the second row as well. Just wondering where you see both their best positions.
Shane obviously played most of his rugby in the back three, 15 mostly left wing for us, but it's something that we've been keen to explore for a long time, him playing outside centre. And he learnt a few valuable lessons on Friday night in that area, Daniel. It's one of the toughest places to defend on a rugby field, is that 13 channel. So we'll take that on the chin. That's part of his learning. Gavin, I like that flexibility of my back rows, particularly our eights, the ability to play lock or move into the second row within a game. It's certainly something I like to explore with Brian Gleeson as well. But we're not taking away that Gav punches a lot of numbers for us carrying the ball, and his contacts, so that kind of gears him towards the back row. But that ability to play second row as well is a luxury.
Brilliant, thank you, Graham. And just on that as well, I suppose at times last year, particularly when we travelled to South Africa, you spoke about possibly a small bit of a lack of depth in the squad. Is that kind of versatility from players almost a given in, I suppose, rugby in today's day and age?
Well, yeah, it's important, particularly if you want to take 30 guys to South Africa, because you've got to cover illness and injury. But not towards the latter stages, particularly that South Africa tour, we had a lot more players available to us. We had a lot of injuries around Christmas and January, particularly in the middle of the scrum there. But a lot of guys became available for that trip. It certainly changed our bench selection, for example. But that ability for the back rows to play second row is big for me.
Perfect. Thanks so much for your time, Graham. Cheers.
Cheers, Daniel.
Brilliant. Thanks. Anyone there, guys, want to jump in? Anyone got any more questions there for Matt or for Graham, or will we let them off? You've got another 20 minutes here now, unless maybe great opportunity here. Might be getting an early day, guys. No, you're all happy enough. So everyone's got what they want.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thanks a million, guys. Can I just ask that you, when you're doing your write-ups, so not just refer to the league as the BKT URC in the north and the Vodacom URC in the south, if you don't mind. And thanks very much for coming on. And I'll see some of you, maybe all of you, for the rest of the week with the other couches. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.